Disclaimer. We are interested in everything and experts in nothing. We enjoy learning, but get it wrong sometimes. We mean no disrespect, and if we mess up, kindly correct us. Let's take this ride together, unless your intention is to cause harm or distress, in which case, with utmost haste, fuck right off.
Episode
18.
Okay.
18.
All right. This one's mine.
Yes.
And I am doing fairy rings.
Yay! Okay, wait, before we get started. Disclaimer, we are recording on the same night as the Bengals playoff game.
There may be some shouting.
There might be some shouting in the background.
We've been warned.
Yeah, and now so have you. Okay, go ahead. Fairy rings.
So, fairy rings. A fairy ring, also known as a fairy circle, elf ring, or pixie ring, is a naturally occurring ring or arc of mushrooms. Okay, so, we've seen the pictures, the fairies dancing in the mushroom rings, or somebody peering behind some bushes, watching like a creeper, some elves and fairies dancing inside the ring.
Okay.
Okay, so they're found mainly in forested areas, but they also can appear in grasslands or rangelands, which I assume is more like a field.
Like
I don't really know.
Like home on the range?
I assume, yes.
Okay.
While they sound mystical in nature, science tells us that fairy rings, or patterns of certain type of mushrooms that grow in circular formations, are naturally occurring phenomena that usually appear year after year on lawns and, as mentioned, the field and the forests.
Okay.
Okay, so how do they come about?
Tell me.
Fairy rings occur when a mushroom spore falls in a favorable spot.
Okay.
And it grows a mycelium, which is the vegetative part of a fungus.
Wait, so is that the part that's above the earth or under the earth?
Under the earth.
So like the root
it spreads
type.
out, yeah.
Okay.
In an underground network of fine tubular threads called a hyphae.
Okay.
So then the mushroom caps then appear at the edges of this network.
Oh.
So there's a lot more going on underground.
Yeah.
And it's basically spread out, but the mushroom caps themselves, the part that's above ground, are at the fringes of that network. So it just happens to form a circle.
So it's like the border, like the wall.
The walls, yeah.
Okay.
Basically the edge of that mycelium function.
Well, that's kind of cool.
It is. The formations continue to expand outward, using up the nutrients within them as they grow larger. So it can get bigger and bigger and bigger, and the caps are going to be kind of like at that border. But what's going on is underneath, in the middle.
Okay.
So there is a ring found in Belfort, France, the largest ever seen, measures approximately 2,000 feet in diameter, and is an astounding 700 years old.
Holy crap!
Although, I cannot find a single picture of that anywhere.
Okay, wait. So, is it mean... organize my thoughts. Okay. So, basically, the ring, like, is the outer limit of it. When that part dies, does it, like, grow each year?
Further out?
Yeah, and then the ring gets bigger, or...
I think it occurs in the regular area unless they've completely annihilated the nutrients on that border, and then it would spread out further.
Oh.
But then, I don't know, they might have a maximum range of whatever type of phylum of mushroom it is.
Right, it would be... Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess probably the ground would have to be undisturbed in the meantime, because...
Otherwise,
you destroyed the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I cannot find a picture of this damn 700-year-old fairy ring, so I am assuming it is a legitimate fairy ring, and it cannot appear on film or in like photograph form, and it's a magic agreement or shit. Like maybe there's an NDA that they're like, we'll tell you about it, but you're never gonna fucking.
But
find
that's all you get.
That's
I'll tell you about it, but there are no pictures, please.
None. No photos. We've agreed to no publications whatsoever. You lying sack of shit. We'll deny you all. One of the manifestations of fairy growth side is a necrotic zone.
Ooh, that sounds ominous.
It does, but it's not. It
Oh,
just
okay.
means plant death. It just means death in an area where grass or other plant life has withered or died.
Oh.
So these zones are caused by the mycelia, which during a dry year coat the roots of grasses and other herbs in the meadow. And then after some time, they are removed by biotic factors from the ground, at which stage the surface soil becomes visible. So they're underneath pulling out some nutrients, and then you can see the pattern on top, which it'll look like a deadened ring. So they're not always mushroom caps. Sometimes they're just rings of like disturbed earth, it looks like.
Okay. So basically, sometimes instead of sending little caps above the ground, they stay underground and just suck all the nutrients out so there's nothing left for the grass?
Pretty much.
Oh.
So it's like a discolored and a disturbed area. It's definitely a depression. Like, you can see it as that's something weird. Like, do you remember when we were little and we had hula hoops and we would forget them outside for like a week?
Yes.
Or if you ever had those old, like, front yard pools that your parents put their feet in when you were a baby and you sat there and it just killed the entire lawn under it.
Yep.
It's kind of like that.
Okay,
Because it's
gotcha.
an obvious depression. It's an obvious disturbance, but it's not, like, super raised. So something's going on underneath.
Got it.
Patterns other than the basic ring or arc can be circles, which I don't know how that's different from a ring.
Maybe it's filled in.
Maybe it's filled in. I don't know.
Maybe that's the
Double
difference.
arcs. So,
Okay.
sickle-shaped arcs, which that would be fucking scary. If you're in like a dead forest and there's like a shape of a sickle, you'd be like, no.
That's a bad sign.
This is a cursed ass area. And
Bad
we need to
omen.
Fucking leave. Like, this is not Fern Gully. They're coming after us.
Yeah.
There are other complicated formations formed in this process. They didn't have examples or pictures, so I'm gonna again go with that's not real. That's the actual fairy world, because I can't replicate it. Fungi can deplete the soil of readily available nutrients such as nitrogen, causing the plants growing within the circle to be stressed, which leads to plant discoloration.
Okay.
So that whole potential death and whatnot. Some fungi also produce chemicals which act like hormones called gibberellins.
Well, I'm sorry. Say that again.
Gibberellins.
That's such a fun word.
It's
What is it?
Gibberellins. Gibberellins.
I love it. Now, what is it?
It is a hormone that can affect plant growth, causing rapid, luxurious growth.
Oh, so it's
they can do the
plant
opposite
growth
effect,
hormone.
where they're like, you know what? We've been kind of like destroying you guys. How about we just give you a boost of the gibberellins? Long-term observations of fairy rings on Shillingstone Hill in Dorset, England, further suggested that the cycle depend on a continuous presence of bunnies. Bunnies
And fairies
Yes,
hand in hand?
Yes. The chalky soils on the higher elevation in the countries of Wiltshire and Dorset in southern England used to support many meadow-type fairy rings, because bunnies crop the grass short in the area, and they produce nitrogen-rich poops.
Oh,
So bunny poops helps the fairy rings,
I love it.
because they're going after the nitrogen, so they're like, follow that bunny, he's going to poop food.
Okay, yep.
So fae and bunnies have an agreement.
I like it.
Yes. So, we know they're just a circular formation of fungi. Or are they?
Oh.
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
I was ready to accept that.
I mean, the science part is over. Now we're getting into the folklore
Yes.
of, like, what people have associated with fairy rings.
Mm-hmm.
They're subject to much folklore and myth worldwide, but particularly in Western Europe.
Okay.
So, they're often seen as hazardous or dangerous places linked with witches or the devil in folklore.
Really?
Apparently.
Wait. Well, I guess the fae were like mischievous or not always a good thing.
I mean, you don't want
So-
to fuck with them, and you don't want to make deals, and don't ever give them your name, and there's a whole list of things that you should not do with fae.
Was Rumpelstiltskin a fae?
I think so.
Was he really? 'Cause
I
it sounds
don't
like
know.
Rumpelstiltskin to me.
I mean, he could have been. I really don't know. He was some kind of mystical whatever. He had a penchant for making women work on the spinning wheel. Fucker.
yeah, and making
Anyway.
shady deals.
Shady deals. That's a fae thing. Shady deals. Oh, yeah. 100%
Yeah.
fae. Okay, so conversely, they can sometimes be linked with good fortune, although not usually. It is mostly bad. and you should stay away from them.
Okay.
I think it's more the Fae agreement propaganda where they're saying, sometimes we can be good. Because people are like, oh no, stay the fuck away.
Not all
And now
Fae?
they're like, yes, not all Fae. Not all men, not all Fae.
Not all Fae.
Not all Fae want to steal your souls.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, not all Fae. So, numerous legends focus on mortals entering a fairy ring. Like, walking through, and then the immediate consequences.
Oh, God.
One superstition is that anyone who steps in an empty Fae ring will die at a young age. But here's my thought. Depending on how long ago that was, the life expectancy was already really short.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm like, how young age are we talking? Because if you're in your 30s, you're already looking like an old person in certain time frames.
Yeah, okay, so also they're fungi, right? And fungi are notoriously not all good for you.
Right.
So
I don't think people are eating the fairy ring.
is there like an inhalation risk?
I mean, I don't think they're like demon spores from like some horror movie. I saw nothing about the fungi being not venomous because they can't bite you. Sporious? What the hell? I mean, they'd be poisonous if you ate them, but if you don't eat them, they're just gonna sit there.
It might still be poisonous. It's not venomous.
It's not venomous, but porous?
I don't know. Toxic.
Toxic. We'll just go with toxic.
Toxic.
It's fine. So, again, not 100% sure what a young age means, because ain't nobody living that long.
Yeah.
But especially if you fuck with the Fae, you really ain't living that long. One superstition was in 20th century edition from Somerset, England, calls the fairy ring a galley trap. And that is a murderer or a thief who walks in the ring will be hanged. Which I'm just kind of like, if they're a murderer or a thief,
they're probably going to be hanged
so is
anyway.
this like a supernatural like cleanup force or something? Like you beat the gallows, now the Fae are going to fuck you up?
Maybe it's just like if you're a murderer or a thief and you walk through it, now you're like, shit, they're going to catch me.
They're going to find me.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
Either way, stay away from them. Or the Fae are just like, no, you're a fucking awful person. We're taking you out of this world.
Because not all Fae
Because
are bad.
Because not all Fae.
Yeah. Okay.
Not all Fae. Some of them take care of murderers and thieves.
That's right.
We've decided. Most often, someone who violates a fairy perimeter becomes invisible to mortals outside and might find it impossible to leave the circle.
So they're like transported to an alternate dimension?
Yes. Fairyland.
And held there. Fairyland.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Often, fairies force the mortals to dance to the point of exhaustion, death, or madness.
Wait, wasn't that a real thing? Wasn't
There
dancing?
was a dancing sickness that
Yeah.
was unexplained in Germany in like 15-something.
We just explained it.
Yes, it was Fae.
It was Fae.
Seriously, somebody fucking walked through the Fae fields and they're like, bitch, we gonna go after you, we gonna go after your mama, we gonna go after the whole town, we're gonna go after your cow, dishonor on you, dishonor on the cow. Everybody's dancing till they die.
Yes.
In Welsh tales, fairies actively try to lure mortals into their circles so that they can dance with them. So it's like extreme, mystical, dance revolution. But permanent.
Yeah, they get stuck there. Okay.
They're done.
Okay.
Dutch tradition's a little different. Tell of fairy rings that were created by the devil as a place to keep his milk churn. Because apparently he had run out of places in hell, so he needed a ring of mushrooms to keep his milk churn.
Okay, but milk would go bad in hell. It's
Here's
too hot.
the thing. Any livestock that were to enter said circle would suffer the souring of their own milk.
See?
So I assume it would suddenly smell or taste of brimstone,
Sulfur. Yeah.
sadness, regret. Damn that cow going into the mushroom.
Wait, so we have goats tasting like, terror.
Terror.
And
And
milk
now
tasting like sadness and regret.
There's a lot of things at play here.
We're creating like the worst
We are.
meal ever.
We are. This is like the absolute opposite of what would be a gourmet meal. Would you like to feel fear and regret and sadness? Here, have some cheese.
Ugh.
Okay, so there's an Austrian legend that also claims fairy rings were the work of dragons and that burned them into the ground with their fiery tails.
Okay.
So like the disturbed earth. Like,
That's cool.
yeah, that one was cool.
I like that one.
holds up with me for like, the whole necrotic, brown, sciencey thing. I'm down with it being a dragon put his tail there and went,
Yep.
oh shit, I burnt the carpet again. Son of a bitch.
He didn't mean to.
I didn't mean it. I'll just